Deion Sanders doesn't fear any opponents in college football, but he may fear someone in Boulder. We'll talk about that and more on today's episode of Locked On Buffs.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? This is Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. As usual, here we go. Thank you guys for joining us on this lovely Wednesday. Today, we're talking about who Deion Sanders is afraid of. Hint, it is not a person, but more so an animal, a wild beast, if you will. Two, we're going to be talking about recruiting. There's a couple guys who backed out of the spring visit, and then Colorado was also named a finalist for a couple of recruits as well. And then we're going to close out the show talking about guys who got their number. We had 4 more guys from Colorado get their numbers, and we're going to talk about one of them being a fan favorite, the transfers who got theirs, and just everything in between. So without further ado, I want you guys to know that this episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. Okay, so as soon as Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, took the job at Colorado, there was a little buzz around him meeting Ralphie, the Buffalo. I believe they're on Ralphie VI, which is, I think, I don't even know what number that is in Roman numerals. Let's see. Ralphie VI Roman numerals. And that is 6. Oh, I knew it. I probably should have guessed that, but I went with my gut and didn't want to get the wrong number. But Ralphie 6, she and Coach Prime finally met after a long-awaited, introduction. And so they joked with Coach Prime when he first took the job about running with Ralphie and meeting her. And so it finally happened, and it may have been the funniest video I've ever seen in my life, because I think, especially when it comes to football players, we're always like, oh, they're so tough. Like, they don't fear anything. And especially like a guy like Coach Prime is one of the greats, one of the best football players of all time. And it reminds me of his appearance on, I don't even know what the show is called, but it's with Bear Grylls or whatever, where they're in the wild, I think. And they're just like hanging out, and Bear was like chasing with a snake. And maybe Coach Prime doesn't do wild animals, but he was definitely a little frightened of Ralphie. So if you guys hadn't seen the video, I have it here for you. Just let me try and share my screen. I feel like one of my college professors right now trying to figure out how to do this. Here we go. Okay, I got it. Okay, and this is Coach Prime meeting Ralphie for the first time.
I already told you can call. Hey, oh no, you can't. No, the animal's right there.
I know. Come on.
Okay. Yeah, ain't no good fall.
Yeah.
Nope, that ain't gonna happen. What's going on? How you doing? Yep.
Girl. Yeah, there you go.
Pick that up.
There you go.
Okay. I'm standing here while this thing is coming at me full speed. Oh no! Oh no!
Sweetheart, oh, you gonna cut something?
I mean, it does not get any better than that. Coach Prime meeting Ralphie. There's a full 3-minute video on Colorado's football page if you want to go check that out. It was a great watch. It just made me laugh, because I think when we think of Coach Prime, he's a strong man. He's tough. He's gritty. Even Shadur Sanders, his own son, fears him on game day. I wouldn't say fears him, but he avoids him on game day. I talked about it yesterday. But when it comes to Ralphie, he's a little scared. But you know what? I think I'd be scared too if there was a buffalo running at me. I think the closest run into a buffalo I've had was with a dairy cow, and they're just large. They're large animals, and buffalo are much bigger and much stronger, much more aggressive maybe. So to see Coach Prime and Ralphie finally unite, great video. I want to meet Ralphie eventually too. That's on the bucket list. Hopefully when I go out to Boulder, they will let me get a little one-on-one interview with Ralphie. I think that'd be great. Guys, grand slams, no hitters, and double plays are back, and there's no better place to get in on the MLB action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. That's because right now new customers can set up to the plate with a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn to sign up, place your first bet, and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win. So don't miss your chance to get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to fanduel.com/lockedon to sign up. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the Major League, the official partner of Major League Baseball. Excuse me. Okay. I think part of my issue with these ads is I remember the old ones, and so like they keep battling in my head. Okay, so we talked about Ralphie and Coach Prime meeting. Very wholesome, very funny. Now we have a recruiting update for you. Let's go with the bad first. I just like the Band-Aid to be ripped off, so we'll go with the negative things first. As you guys all know, Colin Simmons, the 5-star edge rusher from Duncanville High School in Texas, elected to no longer visit Colorado on the spring game. And it sounds like Colorado is essentially out of his recruitment. He cited on an interview with On3's Josh Newberg, who came on our show about a couple weeks ago, was on his show and said that program fit, maybe NIL kind of factored in. He didn't say that, but it was kind of something that he said he really valued. So very interesting there. Our John Garcia wrote about it, and he said, this is what Colin Simmons said. I don't think Colorado would be the right choice for me, the right fit. And then they continue talking about all of his offers and stuff. And he says, because of the type of person I am, it took me time to get to that point that I could tell coaches I've left a few schools off. And unfortunately for Colorado, they were just one of those few schools. And I think also, which he came out and tweeted that his recruitment is going to be to any conference. But he had done an interview where he's basically saying that the SEC is where he wanted to be. And obviously there's TCUs in the mix for his recruitment. I think USC was, but he actually bumped USC for a TCU visit. So who knows where they stand. Oregon was another school that wasn't SEC school in his recruitment. But the kind of consensus around his recruitment, based off prediction machines, crystal balls and all that, is he's going to end up in the SEC somewhere, whether it's LSU, Texas A&M, I don't know. But that was kind of the vibe on him. But a teammate of his also it will not be visiting Colorado anymore, and his name is Caden Durham. He's a running back at Duncanville, and he was offered by Colorado back in January, and he decided he will not take the unofficial visit to Colorado 2 weekends from now. He announced that yesterday on social media. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that this means they're out on Colorado, but I think maybe I think the whole appeal for the spring game was to get as many recruits as possible. So I think if a recruit doesn't want to go to the spring game, I won't say that's a guarantee that they're out, but it's a good indicator. So now let's get to the positive. April 10th, which was 2 days ago, Monday, we had Colorado was named a top 12 finalist by Jaden Jackson, who is an IMG Academy. He's from IMG Academy. This is what John wrote about him. Says Colorado continues to push for national talent with few programs sporting a prep roster reflective of IMG's in Florida. Fittingly, Monday, one of IMG's top prospects placed the Colorado Buffaloes in his top programs. Rising senior Jaden Jackson announced the news via social media, dropping a list. Colorado has yet to host a 6'2", nearly 300-pounder for a recruiting visit. But I mean, big guy, big recruit. I think everybody in the country is basically vying for his services. Among the programs that were featured in the top 12 were Texas, Miami, Auburn, Florida, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Nebraska, Tennessee. Again, it's just so interesting to see that Colorado is in the mix for these guys. I feel like a few years ago, you would never even expect Colorado to be to sniff a top 12 like this. And he's a big defensive lineman. So we'll see if Charles Kelly and all those guys on the defensive side could get him to Boulder. I think getting people to Boulder is one of the biggest steps of recruiting for Coach Prime, because I think there's a misconception about Boulder, and I've kind of learned this about Boulder in my few months covering Colorado so far, is that it's not as cold as I thought it was. I think there was a misconception that it snows frequently. But just the other day I saw it was 70 degrees and people were celebrating the nice weather. And I think Colorado is really beautiful. I've flown through there, had enough time to explore Denver one time, but nothing too crazy. And I think Colorado itself is just, I think you need to see it to appreciate it. And a lot of these recruits will see that when they visit. And then again on April 10th, they had Jeremiah Beeman from Alabama. He's a defensive lineman, ranked as a top 100 recruit on multiple outlets. He trimmed a list of almost 30 offers down to 10 on Easter Sunday. So he had in his top 10, it was Colorado, Auburn, Alabama, Texas, Ole Miss, Florida State, Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee and Clemson. He's a 6'5", 255-pound recruit who does not have a recorded visit yet to Colorado, but there's no rush in his timeline, according to what we've been hearing. And then his official visits for the summer months are still being set up, which means Coach Prime will have time to get him on campus. That's all that I think. Coach Prime is one of those recruiters where you give him 5 minutes in a room with a recruit, and there's a 95% chance that recruit's coming to Colorado or wherever he is. You saw it at Jackson State with Travis Hunter. Obviously, he had more than 5 minutes, but you give Coach Prime any time with the recruit, and it's going to be hard for any recruit across the country to tell him, you know what, this isn't for me. I see what you're doing here, but I don't think it'll be something that I want to be a part of. I just think it's hard to turn down Coach Prime. So yeah, I think going back to what we've kind of learned about this spring game, I still think there's going to be a ton of recruits. I had Colin Simmons was obviously the only player, and his running back Amigo from Duncanville. Those are the only two guys that I know of that have publicly announced that they will not be going, which leaves a ton of talented guys that are still going. I believe the number is still nearing 20. Probably is going to hit the 30 mark. I'm sure there's guys that I haven't seen their tweets. To be honest, I feel like there's just so many guys pledging to go to the spring game that it kind of just got so out of hand in terms of tracking who is going. But I had nearly 20 on my list over at Athlon, and I expect that number to continue to grow because again, I'm looking at my phone calendar right now. There's 10 days until the game, so that means there's 10 days for guys to be like, you know what, I will go out to Colorado, especially guys from like California, Texas, Arizona. Colorado's not too far away. It's only a couple hour flight, maybe an hour and a half from some states. So yeah, Colorado's been having a lot of success on the recruiting trail. For every couple guys that eliminate them, it feels like there's like 3 or 4 guys that are including them in their top 10s. And while they're not going to land everybody, that'd be great, but they're not going to land every one of these 4-star, 5-star guys. It just doesn't work out like that. Just being in the top 10 is a good sign. It shows that people are interested in the program. It shows that people believe in Coach Prime and his message. And so look for Colorado to be a big player come April, come, I guess summer is when a lot of guys do their official visits, or fall. But getting an official visit is very important. But having these guys for unofficial visits is kind of like the appetizer for the official visit. So if the unofficial goes well, then you get an official, and they only get so many. I believe it's 5. But there's going to be a lot of craziness happening in regards to Colorado soon. Just for example, the transfer portal opens in 3 days on April 15th for all students, all athletes. I guess students can transfer whenever they want, but after they finish the semester and all that. But right now it's only grad transfers, so that's why we saw Jack Bailey, the offensive lineman from Kent State. He was able to announce, but April 15th will mark the day where all players can hit the portal. So younger guys who maybe aren't liking their role in spring football, aren't liking, maybe they went to a certain program that just wasn't a fit for them, or maybe they want to move closer to home or further away from home for some guys. I don't know. But oh, excuse me, my mic came unplugged there. Look for Colorado to make more moves in the role and kind of, I guess you could say, be big swingers, big players in terms of making additional talent acquisitions. But yes, so 2 guys out, 2 guys in on Colorado. Not a bad ratio, I would say. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Buffs your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out Locked On Buffs, because we appreciate you and we love you, and we want you guys to watch all of our videos. Share it with a friend. Moving on to our final discussion of the day. We had, obviously, if you guys don't know, Coach Prime has made it clear that his rosters at Colorado will earn their numbers. So they're not going to just roll up and be like, you know what, I wore number 12 in high school, so I kind of expect number 12. If you expect number 12, you better earn it. So we had Jimmy Horn was the first guy to earn his number. He wore number 5. Shane Cokes, the defensive lineman, transfer from Dartmouth. He was the first defensive player, quote unquote defensive, full-time defensive. We'll go with that. He got number 99, which was interesting because he took someone's number from last year. Travis Hunter got his number 12. And I say Cokes was a full-time defensive player because when the social media team posted, they said that he was the first defensive player. So don't get on me. That's what the Colorado team said. Travis Hunter is currently only playing receiver in spring ball. He's number 12. And then we had 4 guys get it, kind of a little surge in numbers. And so up first, it was Cameron Silman, the Jackson State safety transfer, Levante Bentley from Clemson, and Isaac Hurtado, who was a JUCO transfer but played last year, recorded about 6 tackles. They all picked their numbers. So let's take a look at them. Silman had number 7, which he wore at Jackson State. Bentley wore number 42 at Clemson. Ooh, excuse me, had to sneeze there. Didn't want you guys to hear it, so I muted myself. Sorry about that. But Bentley went from number 42 to 20. He was 42 at Clemson. And then Hurtado was at number 29 like he was last year. But there was one guy from this list that I kind of left out on purpose. He became a fan favorite a year ago. A safety, obviously the team, and that one guy that keeps commenting on my videos, take a shot every time I say 1-11. Here you go. Here's your shot opportunity. A 1-11 team, not many bright spots, not many positive moments, I guess you could say. But Trevor Woods, the safety, he was a freshman last year, or sophomore this past year, will be a junior this upcoming season. He was nothing short of exceptional on a very bad defense. He had 80 total tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 3 pass breakups, and an interception. He kind of became a fan favorite. I think of all the guys that because I'm still learning about all these new faces, and I learned from you guys in my comments who you guys really like, and I feel like Trevor Woods has been a name that I constantly hear fans being supportive of. And the Texas native, he earned his jersey, was the first returning player, or one of the first, because obviously Hurtado did. We'll say first returning main contributor to earn his number, and he went back to 43 because that was the number he wore this past season. Looked good on him. He was making all those plays. And so congrats to those 4 young guys for getting their numbers. I think, obviously, if I had, I don't know who I'd place money on to earn their number next. I feel like I thought Deion Sanders would be one of the first few guys, but then John Garcia, when he was on the show last, he made a good point saying, I think that he thinks there's going to be like a special set of rules or requirements for Shedeur, because obviously Coach Prime doesn't want him to just seem like he's getting everything, I guess you could say. So congrats to these 4 guys who earned their numbers. Silman was a great safety at Jackson State. I believe he was all conference. Levante Bentley he's an experienced player. Let me pull up his stats real quick. I think he's someone who has minimal Power 5 experience, but any experience is good experience. So in his 4 years at Clemson, obviously he redshirted because he's listed as a junior, or he has the COVID year too. This past season, he recorded 20 total tackles, 12 solo, and recorded 1 sack as a linebacker. Not bad. I think the linebacker room at Colorado is probably the room I'm most concerned about right now. And I think that's going to be the room that that's the room that they could address in the transfer portal again. But we'll find out. And then Simon, I think it's Simon. He had 111 total tackles, played in 25 games at Jackson State in the past couple years. He recorded 10 tackles for a loss, 4 sacks, 5 interceptions, 11 pass breakups, and 1 forced fumble, 2 fumble recoveries. First team all SWAC in 2022. This past season, he had 63 tackles, 5.5 for a loss, 1.5 sacks, and then 2 interceptions. And then he just has a knack for finding the ball. He'll put a helmet on the ball when he's tackling you. He's a hard-nosed guy. Very excited to see what he does again under Coach Prime. And I think this defense is starting to shape up. Linebackers, like I said, are a concern of mine. But the secondary, led by Silman, they got Miles Slusher from Arkansas. They obviously have Travis Hunter at one cornerback spot, and then they'll have Cormani McLean at the other, one could assume. But even then, there's a lot of guys out there. On Well Off Media's most recent video, it's getting a little chippy in the inter squad stuff. So I think the defense might be a little more friskier than we imagine. I think the secondary will be a strong suit. Linebackers concern me. I think Demoy Kennedy will be a standout. He'll have a much larger role than he did at Alabama. Great athleticism there. But Trevor Woods, how can I forget about Trevor Woods at the safety position? You got Stillman, Slusher, Trevor Woods, very experienced back end there. So this defense has a lot of potential. I think Stillman has, and I hope I'm saying his name right. That's how I read it. But Stillman has been someone who's emerged as a leader this offseason, the spring practice for Colorado. So the sky is the limit for this defense. I think more depth will only help them. I think people are coming around on my 6-win prediction. 6 to 7 wins, I think, is a very good number for them to aim for. And I think it's a good number for fans to kind of have their expectations around. But a lot of other people were saying 4 wins, 5 wins. But I think a lot of people are coming. More people, I won't say a lot of people, more people are coming around on their 6 wins. And it's going to be because of guys like Trevor Woods. It's going to be because of guys like Levante Bentley stepping up and Travis Hunter stepping up. So all these guys that are getting their numbers, I take that as they're kind of the leaders of the team right now. And so very big for these guys to get their numbers. Very big for you guys to be here listening to me talk about Colorado football all the time. We plan to have a lot more guests. Mark Johnson will be making frequent appearances, the voice of Colorado, during the season. We have an episode with John tomorrow and the next day, so look out for those. I appreciate you guys for making Locked On Buffs your first listen every day. Make sure to like, subscribe, share. Give me some questions to answer. I would love to have a fan question section where we could just go over questions and talk about concerns, positivity, who's coming, who's not coming, who's leaving. So again, thank you for making Locked On Buffs your first listen of the day. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every day and listening to me talk Colorado Buffs football. And I will see you guys tomorrow with John Garcia.